you. So I didn't want Arya to do the big introduction and then me repeating it again. So thank you so much, Arya. So I have two disclaimers before I begin. One is like we are talking about people with disabilities, but I'll be talking majorly about my experiences with disabilities. So it will be predominantly about physical disability, but things will be applicable to all disabilities. So because I didn't do the research of how other disability people interact with people. So next disclaimer is my secret agenda for this session is that I get your interest while talking about my experience so that you go and Google and find out about other disabilities and more about disability etiquettes and all, and that you talk about it later to people whom you meet. So I'm trying to get you into my group, and then using you, maybe I can reach out to more people. So that is my secret agenda, and that is the reason for the first point that I didn't do so much of a research about other disabilities and to make it all like covering all disabilities. So thank you so much. Next slide. Okay, so I'll start with I was born and brought up in Kerala, Kannur, a northern district of Kannur, and in a very rural village. So I was born there as a second girl child of my parents, and it was like at that time it was not so much welcomed and looked up to a second girl child. It was such a time 43 years back, and but still my parents love me, but though my extended family and the villagers and everybody questioned, okay, two girls, one boy would have been better. Okay, so that was the situation, and then I grew up there, and I lost my father when I was 8, and it came out so visibly and so obviously at that time that okay, so one boy would have been better, or they should have tried for another one. Which would have been a boy. So that was the situation there. So anyway, I was asked to grow up very fast so that I can support my family. I was only 8 at that time. So I went on to study. Only thing I knew was that, okay, you should study well to get a job. So I studied and I did my MCA, Masters in Computer Applications, and I went to work in Chennai as a computer engineer. So I was working there as a software engineer for almost 4 years, and that is when I met with this accident. I came home for holidays and I was returning to office. And while it was an overnight flight, sorry, train, and while traveling, I stood on the door to throw something out. And then, like we all do that, we all stand on the door of the train while traveling. So, and that door got locked or closed, and then I was thrown out. So that heavy door, it hit me, and I was out of. That is one thing I remember, and next thing I remember is like I got consciousness when in a hospital. So when I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital, and then I later I learned that okay, so I was found by some people and taken in an auto and then into another hospital and then moved to a medical college hospital. So that is where I was in an ICU, and I had a very heavy collar on my neck, and then I couldn't move any of my limbs, and then my arm was in a sling because I had a fracture there. So that is the situation, and it was 2 days after. So it was a Sunday night that I fell down, and then Tuesday somewhere, sometime was when I got when I become conscious. So then it was a journey. So at one moment I was traveling to my office. I had a work to do, and I was like so looking forward to doing and anxious about something which is happening in the office. So that was all there. And the next moment when I got up, I was like, there was nothing. I only even I did not have a name and like identity. It was all like okay, so I have a number which is like a patient number, and then I have an associated diagnosis. It is a spinal cord injury, and I was waiting for a surgery to get that fixed, and I couldn't move any of my limbs. So that is how I was. Then okay, so I got my surgery done. I was in ICU for I think 2 weeks, about 15 or more days. And then I was in that hospital. I stayed in the same hospital till my post-operative review for after 1 month, because as I said, I come from a very rural village, and if I go back home, my mom did not have an idea on how to care for me. So we decided that okay, we'll stay in a hospital. And then after that, I was asked to get physiotherapy and rehabilitation because that is the way forward. So, okay, so then they found a rehabilitation center. So I was moving from one rehab center to another getting physiotherapy. So it continued for 4 years. So what do I remember being there in that during those 4 years? It was like, okay, my spinal cord injury was fixed perfectly. I have a titanium cage there, and my vertebrae was fixed perfectly. But then there were things which never got attended to. My symptoms like, okay, headache or constipation or things like that were completely ignored. And then, like as I said, I never felt as Ashla there. It was always like that spinal cord injury patient, that quadriplegic, and that is how the case number in so and so bed. That is how I was referred, and that is how I was presented also. It was like, okay, this is a case of. I think people from medical field would know this, and that is, and there will be so many like maybe medical students or other doctors or people coming in. It's a group of people coming in every day morning, and they'll be like talking to my mother, asking, okay, and did she sleep well? Like I would know whether I slept well or not better than my mother, because I would have been awake when she was sleeping, but then it will be asked to my mother and not to me or whoever it is there. Maybe some uncle who actually like landed that morning to see me in a hospital, and then because it is a man and because like he is available there, the questions will be addressed to him, and that I think that is quite. Like usual for our place, and then he'll be like looking at my mother, and then my mother will be answering on behalf, and none of those questions were asked to me. And I remember that okay, only occasions wherein I was asked about my situation was like when they speak in English, and then my mother could not reply in English, so I had to be the translator there. And even then, interestingly, the questions would be addressed to my mother, and then I'll be translating, and it is everything about me again. So, but I smile at it now and I recognize it now. But those days I didn't care, or I did not realize that this is what was happening. So, and then let's see, you want to see show something to over the nurse or the code of like colleague who is coming, and then want to discuss something about me, and then undressing me without asking me. It's like they don't care about it at all in front of a group of people, and you want to show something on my stomach, and then the way you do it and how do I feel about it, or whether you have my permission to do it, or is it okay to do it in front of so many people. None of these are asked. So that is how my life was for almost that was those days were, I think, very initial days, and after that, I was in a rehabilitation center where I got my physiotherapy. So that was a bit better than this acute care, I would say, because maybe when you go for physiotherapy and when you go for exercise and all, there is some kind of a personal connection which you get from the team. So, and then in that physiotherapy center, at least I was still that patient in room number 3, that quadriplegic cases and all, but still there were some people who got connected to, okay, then they will, the whole aim was like to get up and walk. So I'll try every night, every given opportunity, I'll try to maybe sit up straight and then do all the activities which they asked me to do, because everything I had to learn from the scratch. It was like, okay, so you want to eat yourself also, how do you like hold a spoon? Which spoon can you hold? So they actually gave me that thermocol wrapped spoon so that I can hold it. And then I graduated from that to a plain spoon wherein I can hold. And even now I struggle if it is a very heavy spoon. So it goes like that. So I had to learn to feed myself and then to write with my own hand. So how do I hold a pen? What kind of a pen will work for me? So it was like, okay, so I should think of having a like a soft knit pen. So I started with my sketch pens, and then letters will not come, that shapes will not come. So I started with the straight lines and square waves, and then sine waves, and then on to the letters and all. So it was a daily struggle. So, but then I had so much to do. I was engaged from day morning till night, wherein I do all these activities. And maybe after 4 years, or by that time, it was like, so you know what happened? I was 28 when I met with this accident. So my mother's policy was like, okay, so she saved all the money she could for my marriage, and then she was very clear from my 10th standard on that, okay, so if I get into a government or uh, college or get a merit seat to study, then she'll pay for the fees. She'll never pay any donations or capitation fee for my seat, like education. So that was very clear to me also. So I agreed and I studied as and like as hard as possible. And then so she saved everything for my marriage. So now she was like, okay, so what next? We don't know. So she spent all that money for my treatment. So I was in hospital for 4 years, almost 4 years. So at that time, it was like, okay, fine. Then she started talking about, okay, I don't think we'll be able to pay so much of monthly like daily charges and stay there. It was costing us around 50,000 a month at that time. So it was like, okay, so maybe eventually we'll have to go home. What will you do? So those were the days when she was talking about these things, and I didn't want to go home. So why? Because I know it is a very rural village, and my house was not accessible. And then the road access to my home at that time was like 250 meters away. So I'll have to be for a monthly catheter change. I have an indwelling catheter. So for monthly catheter change, I will have to be carried maybe in a chair or so all the way to the road for 250 meters, and then get onto an ambulance or something, and then go to a hospital which is 5-6 kilometers away to get this done. So I didn't want that. And I also knew that if I go there and I'll end up in my bed, my mom will give me whatever is possible for sure. That would be maybe like TV in my room so that I can watch something, or some books if she can get hold of something. So and that will be the end of my life, and I'll stay there and I'll wait for my death. So that is how it should have been. So I thought, okay, fine, I don't want to do that. So what else? So it was like, okay, what can you do? So that was my question to myself. So what can I do? Maybe I can sit and talk to people. I can sit and listen to people. And then since I studied computers and then I was good with laptops, I started using that. So I type with my knuckles. And in meanwhile, while I was in hospital itself, after 1.5 years of my accident, I started working from hospital. It's like I contacted the company. That was one of my physiotherapists actually encouraged me. Why when we got to talking, it's like, okay, so you were working in IT, what was it and all. So that was the only moment wherein I used to feel like a person. Because when they come and ask me those, okay, tell me about, so what was it? Then I say that, okay, so I went on to this place like for an on-site visit. I was there for 3 months and it was an enjoyable journey, and then my experiences in Chennai and those kind of things. So then I feel that, okay, so I had something at least in my life. So I did something in my life. So then he encouraged me, okay, so why don't you try for an online job? There are so many online jobs coming in. And then my mother said, when I told that to my mother, she said, she asked me, like, maybe why don't you check with your company first? So that is how all this started. And then I contacted, and then they wanted a medical certificate that I'm like okay to work and all. Then they were so kind enough to offer me a part-time job. At that time, work from home was not very common as we hear about it now after COVID. But I still got a work from home, like work from hospital opportunity. So I was working for 4 hours every day also. So that is, if I go home, I wouldn't be able to do that also. So I knew that, okay, so I can use laptop, I can do something with my laptop, I can listen to people, I can talk to people, and maybe also teach children something, basics of English or math or something. So those, there ended my list. So I was with that list. Of course, on the other side of that list, there were so many things which comes under what I can't do. It's like I can't do almost all of my daily activities. I can't do. I can't walk. I can't go out, and they were all those list of things which I can't do. But then okay, so I have like what option do I have? So I look at what I can do and try what comes out of that. So I was like, okay, so I searched what kind of places can I go? Maybe an old age care home wherein I can get the help which I need. I was very clear on that. I would need, wherever I go, I would need help with shifting my knee to my wheelchair, and then an option to get some physiotherapy daily, and so much of things like that. So where will that be available? Maybe in an old age care home there will be uh, people who like caretakers available. They can help me also along with the inmates of that center, and in turn what I can do, maybe I can help with some admin work which they need, or then I can go and talk to people who are lonely there, or I can listen to their stories, or I love reading, so maybe I can read to people, those who love to read but can't do it for their physical reasons as of now. So maybe I'll be of some use there. Or I was thinking maybe some special children homes wherein there are kids. So there will also be caretakers, so they can help me also to get ready and get onto my wheelchair. So I can teach them basics of math or English or something. So these were my thoughts, and that is how I started searching. So it was at that time that one of like there was a fighter pilot called the MP Anil Kumar. who was a paraplegic, who studied in this Trivandrum signing school and then went on to Air Force and then flew MiG 25 and all and got some records in that. That was still when he was 24 years. And at the age of 24, he met with an accident, a crazy bike accident, and he was completely like quadriplegic. He couldn't even move his hands. And then later he lived 26 years for 26 years and he did everything possible in this world, like writing like on so many articles about different areas in sports, in IT, and in general topics and work, helping people those who got met with an accident in the service, then they could not go back to their jobs. But then he fought for people to get in, paraplegic people to get into office jobs and things like that. He did, and he even went back to his training centers to teach people how to fly. Sorry, so much. He did so much. And then I was like, and I read about him when the day he died, or maybe the day after he died. It came in newspapers, and then I was reading about him, and I was so inspired that okay, so if he could do so much, maybe there is something. See, I knew that I'm not that intelligent or smart or whatever it is, but still, if he did all this, and I was thinking if he could move his hands like this, at least to this extent, he would have got into his cockpit and to his flights. I was very sure about that. So I was thinking maybe there are small things which I can do too. So I started searching, and that's how I found Pallium India. So can you go to the next slide? So yeah, so that's how I found Pallium India. So there were so many people helping me to find some kind of a place, and then people there when I wanted something, so they also pitched in to help me. So I found Pallium India. Then I came here. So it was like on 2014 on July 28th, I brought to Dr. Rajagopal saying that I'm so and so and I would like to volunteer for Pallium India and this is my situation. And then on the 28th of September, so this coming 28th marks my 10th anniversary in Pallium India. So I reached here. So what Pallium India did was like they asked me for what are my needs. So we needed a toilet with a wheelchair accessible. The doors should be wide enough for me, and then so that was made happen. And then also they put on some switches near my bed so that I don't have to depend on my mother to switch on the lights or fans whenever I need. And then all those things, my accessibility part were taken care of, and then I reached here. This is like, I think, the first photograph we took after maybe 2 or 3 weeks after I reached Pallium India. So that is so precious to me, and that's why I wanted to share that with you. So what happened when I came here? So I came on a Sunday night, Sunday evening, and then Monday morning when I was ready, I was sat on this wheelchair and I was just propelling and going forward. And people were actually asking me, "When did you reach Ashla? How was your travel and all?" And I was wondering. So I don't know any of these people, but then they call me by Ashla, by my name Ashla, which never happened in the last 4 years very frequently. And they were asking me because then I got to know that okay, so they were doing all these modifications in the room. So they were asking around, okay, so what is happening here? And then they were told that okay, so there is an executive assistant coming for Dr. Rajagopal, and then she's a wheelchair user, and this room is getting ready for her. So they knew when they saw me, they knew that I'm not a patient who's admitted there. So they knew it must be Ashla. So they were asking about. And then after like a day or two, Dr. Rajagopal, he was traveling at that time and he came. And then the moment moment he came to my room to meet, I said good morning, and then he asked my mom, "What is your name?" Because he knew my name, and that is the moment I realized that my mother was never asked about her name in the last 4 years. Only for one or two occasions when they wanted to write a prescription for her when she had a fever or vertigo or something like that. That too for writing. I never think it got registered into somebody's mind when they were writing it. So, as Ashla's caregiver who was caring for me for last 24 bar 7 for 4 years, and she was never acknowledged as a person even. She's always a Ashla's bystander and bystander in that room number 3. So it was at that moment that I realized, and she was confused. Is he asking for my name? Because she's not used to that. And then sir asked her, okay, do you have any health issues? And what is it to care for somebody like Ashla? And even I never thought about that. What would she be going through all these years? So that is when I realized that okay, so there is something which she is also going through. And then, like it was my days of learning. I did not know anything about palliative care when I was coming to Pallium India, except for that I checked Pallium India's website a couple of times to understand what kind of organization. But we did not have the website which you see now came up only 5 or 6 years back. So those days it was just an amateur website which did not have so much of details. So I did not know. But then I learned about palliative care by seeing Dr. Rajagopal giving it, and then the way he talks to patients and caregivers and to other people, and then the way he gives talks in the interview. So I get to be there and listen to that, and also the things which he taught me by doing it. It was one of the things where like okay, so I used to get the jerking for my legs, and then it will go from my wheelchair footrest to down on the floor, and then I'll take my phone and call my mom, saying that mom, can you come? My legs are my feet need some help too. And then she'll come and sir will be like, so why do you have to call your mother? I'm here. But I couldn't even think of asking something like that to him. But then he kept on saying me, I'm not doing you any favor. It is my duty to help you when we are in the same room. It is my duty to do it. So please don't hesitate to ask me. It took me around maybe 2 to 3 years of his continuous telling me, and now I don't even mind, even if we two are like one of you are sitting with me and we are strangers, but still, if I need some help, I would ask, would you mind helping me? So I've reached that position now, but it took me so many years of that like teaching from Dr. Raj. And then, yeah, of course, I found the meaning and purpose for my life. I'm able to listen to people. I'm here and talking to people, trying to understand what they are going through, and then trying to help wherever it is possible. So I came as Dr. Ajobal's executive assistant, but then slowly I got into caring for other people also, other beneficiaries also, because when we started a rehabilitation center here in Palem, India, so I could, there were so many people with spinal cord injuries coming in there, so I could connect with them, or they could connect with me easier because I go in a wheelchair, I sit like them, and I don't stand in front of them. So then I learned a bit of counseling because I knew what wrong communication can do to a person. I was hurt many times in the past because of the way I was talked to, or because of the words people used and all. So I didn't want to make that mistake because till then all I knew about was computers, and then if you are frustrated, if you are angry, or if you if you're even bored, you can just lock your computer and go away. When you come back, it will not ask you about all these questions. So, where were you? Why didn't you leave me? So, but then when you're listening to somebody, when they go through a lot of illness related issues and suffering and all, you have to be fully present there and you have to attend to them, and you cannot simply leave this place and then declare that this is resolved until I feel again to come back to you. So that is not going to happen. So I really wanted to equip myself before I start doing anything like that. So I did a course in counseling, and I read a lot about psychology and related topics. And I don't know, I'm not an expert, but at least I know some things which I should not do when I talk to somebody. So I learned that and I started getting into patient care. And even now, what I feel as a blessing is like people open to you when they go through the most vulnerable state of your mind in your life. So when being there, listening to them is the privileged action which you can do, and that not everybody will be able to do it, and everybody will be given a chance to do it. So I feel so blessed that I am in that kind of a position wherein I'm able to be there for them. It is not like solving all problems or finding solutions or nothing like that, but at least be there that they choose you to open up to. Yes, I don't know how it happened or it started happening. People will come asking for Dr. Ajobal's appointment, and my work during those days were like, okay, so ask, okay, and see when sir is available and tell them that, okay, Wednesday or Thursday or Friday at this time or this time, whichever is convenient to you, we can do it. And they'll say that, okay, Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. And then I mark it in the calendar, and then I ask, okay, so what is the name of the patient? And then I write it down there. So that was my work. But then when I started asking, okay, what happened to your father? So how are you? And then I realized that when you ask, how are you? The first answer is, how is your father? That is what is being answered by everyone, because they don't think about themselves. They think about who is sick, who is in the hospital already, also who is at home suffering. So then I ask, okay, I understand your father is like not well and in this hospital, but how are you doing? How are you coping with? And then the story comes. And then they stay there and they talk for maybe an hour or so. And I have had conversations like that, or listening sessions for maybe an hour or hour and a half. So that is when I found that how privileged it is to be in that kind of a position. So that's what like now I do. Sometimes I listen to people. And then in last, I think it was in 2020 that I joined the board of trustees of Pallium India, because like we wanted somebody with the voice of the care receiver into the board, so that we don't forget about whom we are serving while making decisions at that level. So that is what I've been doing for last 10 years, almost 10 years. Okay, so that is my story, and I don't know why I said that story, but this is our topic. So, how do we care for people with disability? Maybe we'll come to that position where, like, okay, so thank you. Thank you, Shanmugapriya. So, we'll talk about disabilities. And I just got this definitions here so that we know that, okay, this is a topic to be discussed, and this is a topic which we study, and there is so much of work going on in this sector. Okay, so only three words. I got it from WHO's definition, which was very long. I just got whatever points I wanted to discuss here. So I have an impairment. I cannot walk. My legs are not movable, so I cannot walk, and that is an impairment. And because of that, I have an like I cannot move my legs, and because I cannot walk, and then because of that, I'm not able to participate in any of the activities which is happening outside. So that is how it becomes a, can you go to the next slide? Becomes a disability. So this is it. So my impairment and my activity restriction, how it comes is because now I have an impairment. I cannot move my legs, but I have an electric wheelchair which I can use with my hands, which are like with my hands ability, I'm able to manage. And I have an environment here from my room to this room. I don't have any barriers. I don't have any steps there or any other barriers. So I'm able to come from my room to this room. So that environment is accessible, and attitude of people. Here I am Ashla for everybody. I'm a colleague for everybody. They don't look at you as, okay, what happened to do you, or what do you do, or how can you help like this or something like that. So I'm not stayed at in this place. So my attitude of people here is welcoming, and my environment is accessible or barrier free. So my impairment doesn't give me any disability in this building. The moment I step out, it is like, okay, so I can't even go to the nearby supermarket to get a like packet of milk for my mom, only because they have stairs in their front. The road is accessible, though there are gutters in the road, still it is accessible. I can go from here, but I cannot get into that supermarket. So the moment I get out, and the place is not accessible, and people are like, okay, why do you have to come? Why don't you send somebody else? So it is the combination of all three which is making somebody disabled. It's not just the impairment. Even if you have an impairment, you can have a healthy and engaged life if the environment and attitude are welcoming and positive. So, okay, so these are, I'm not going into it in detail, but it is like these are also WHO saying that. So many people are in this world are disabled, and it is the number is increasing. And they say that almost everyone is likely to experience some kind of disability at some point in life. It may be short term during an accident, due to a fracture or something like that, or because our living conditions are improved, and then our age is also, people are living, so many people are living to old age. So they experience some kind of a disability by their end of life time or something like that. So we are all like almost everyone has a chance to experience it. Yeah. So, and about health also, they say that they always experience stigma and discrimination and poor quality of services. And how do you think I get transferred to an X-ray like machine, or to a scanning machine? How difficult it is? How difficult it is even for me to get my glasses changed. I have to look for clinics which are accessible, and then go there to get it changed. So for so many reasons, we don't like go there, or we are not we don't feel welcomed when we go to hospital settings. So that is experienced by so many people. And then the need, of course, is huge. So, good. This is one of, like, it's an old study, but still valid, I think. We experience a lot of higher medical expenditures. And these are all true factors, and associated factors, like you don't have an education or an opportunity for education, and then because you don't have a proper education, you are not able to get into a job, not only because of education, but because your places are not accessible. You don't have any public transport to go for a job, and you don't have offices which are accessible, and you don't have enough education to do that work also. So all these, and you have all these, and you have, when you are sick, you have a higher medical expenditure. So all these are contributing factors to the poverty which is experienced by people with disabilities. Okay, so what are the barriers to healthcare for person with disabilities? So now that you are learning about palliative care, something about palliative care, basics of palliative care. So we should also know something about, okay, how person with disabilities are accessing healthcare or accessing palliative care, and what are the barriers to it. Okay, accessibility. Yeah, of course. As I said, people in even now my home, how accessible my house is, and there are so many places wherein there is no direct road access to the house. So how do you reach that hospital? Whether you have proper road access, whether you get proper vehicle to go there, and dependence on others. I can't go alone to a hospital, and maybe my mother and I also cannot go to a big hospital if it is a big medical college and all. You need somebody else to come with you, because my mother will never be able to navigate through a medical college hospital and find out where to go, or even push my wheelchair and get me there. So you need other people to go there, and then high cost of transport. Okay, so what happened? I got a toothache last year. So what happened? I had a sleepless night, and then in the morning I called one of my colleagues who was also a dental doctor, and I was asking her, okay, so where do I go for this? Then she made couple of calls and asking, do you remember where all these dental clinics are? Almost always on the second floor or third floor of with a very steep stairs and all. And because with people with toothache can always climb stairs, right? They're not having any issue with legs. So that is how situations are here also. You many times it is maybe on the first floor or second floor of a building. So then she made calls and trying to find out where there is an OP in a hospital, attached dental OP in a hospital, and which is wheelchair friendly, and then made couple of calls to get me a appointment, and then I went about 2 o'clock and I got this extracted. So for me, with all these help, and then also for we have a wheelchair accessible vehicle, or I think it was not working at that time, and there were two colleagues who actually manually lifted me from my wheelchair to put me on my in the car, and then they carried my wheelchair also, and we went there, got it done smoothly. But then, what is the cost of it? You from your village or your town, you get a public transport or an auto and then go access this. But then for a person with a disability, whatever simple illness it is, for them to come there, they need a vehicle, they need two people's a salary to be losing for that day on leave, and dedicated vehicle, if not an ambulance, at least a car to go there and get these things done. So it is so much of cost. And then I think about if it is a simple thing, if I have a fever for 2 days and think, okay, maybe it is a urinary infection, beginning of a urinary infection, I will drink a lot of water and see whether it will go. We see that a lot here. By the time they reach here, if it is not in our home care area and all, by the time they reach to our OP, it is like they have very high fever. And then they're like, okay, I was having fever for almost 3, 4 days now, but I was waiting whether it will subside or not. Because people wait to see whether should I go or not. And then all these associated poverty and financial issues, because if it is a breadwinner of the family who got into an accident and got this disability, then there is no income in the family, and the spouse is stuck in the house because this person need a daily care. So there is no income coming in. So all these issues are barriers for people. It prevents people from accessing healthcare on time. So yeah, these are the kind of terrains we reach out to, and because that place where that path they are walking up, it looks like my area. So that is why I like this picture always. So these are the kind of areas we reach out to, where we give our team goes and give home visits to people. So palliative care should reach wherever people they are, so that they have access to it. So that actually, if a person is there inside this house who is having an indwelling catheter, our team going there and changing it on a monthly basis would save them so much of trouble. How much would it cost for? I used to access like a private hospital for getting this catheter changed during my rehab time. So it is like I have to pay for the casualty charges to get into that their emergency care or whatever it is, and then to get this procedure done. So it's like I need to pay for that charges also, and it costs us so much of money to do that, and that is also a recurring monthly expenses. So, okay, so what can palliative care do? So it is like, and this actually comes from my physical experience with physical disabilities, and also from so many other people's experience. We see a lot of people with disabilities in our care, and especially with physical disabilities, may not be people with disabilities or people with deafness go through this, but people with physical disabilities cause a serious health related suffering in our country. Like it is not like our high income countries or developed world, wherein they have a lot of rehabilitation centers available, and then they get access to proper health care on time. We don't have any of these, and then because of that, palliative care should include people with disabilities into their care spectrum. If we don't do it, they don't get anything at all. Otherwise, in developed countries and all, so you get into an accident, you get your spinal cord fixed, and you go directly to rehab centers for 6 years or 1 year, or sorry, 6 months or 1 year or 2 years. You stay there, and you when you come back, you have an accessible environment wherein you can go for shopping and you can continue living. But in our country, you know what happens after, okay, you fall from a tree, and then somebody pick you and then take you to the nearest hospital, which invariably will be a private hospital almost always. And then you get your surgery done, you fix your spinal cord, and by that time it costs you lakhs, and then maybe they pledged or their leg gold, or even their whatever land or house or small income which they had. So these people falling from height must be doing some manual work like painting, or maybe falling from coconut trees and all. So then you lose your house, and then you go back with an indwelling catheter to your home, maybe with a pressure sore. If you're so lucky, you will not have it, but most of the cases you will also have a pressure sore, and many times you will not even realize that this indwelling catheter is to be changed every month. I talked to a couple of people in my life, in my experience after coming here. Somebody called me, and I was talking to, okay, what happened, and getting the details, and they did not know that this has to be changed every month. I'm sure that the doctors or nurses would have told them, or it is written very clearly in the discharge summary. You know where these discharge summaries go? Maybe somewhere under your Bible or Gita or something, which is so very precious to me. My mother will still have all my old X-rays and everything, because medical records are very precious to our like us lay people. who have no idea about what happens in the healthcare field, because this is something to be preserved and to be produced when you go to the next hospital or when you go to hospital next time. So if you don't get your reports and records correctly, your doctors will scold you and nurses will scold you. So this is something to be preserved. And this is not something to open and then read and understand. And then even if you open and read, it is written in English and you will not understand. And if it is written by hand, you will, I don't know who else will be able to read it other than the doctor and the pharmacist. So that is the situation of the medical record. So that is how we go back with a spinal cord injury or with an acquired disability, and we go back home, and then the family like they do whatever they can to help, whatever they know of, and there will be some neighbors helping some with something, or maybe some distant nurse who is working somewhere, but then provide some. Advices on how to do it. So that is what usually happens in our country. So that is why we should include people. And you will be questioned about the definition, because in other countries it doesn't come under palliative care, and why do you include? But we should. And actually, if you come to Kerala, almost all the NGOs working in the field of palliative care include disabilities also into their care spectrum, because we see the need. And it started in Kerala, and when it started, they included all the people with suffering, irrespective of their diagnosis. So it continues. Okay, so what can you do as another question? What can we do? Okay, so it's like, okay, so I believe like our health, we are a community in this small room now, this online room now. We have, okay, 24, 25 people sitting together and talking about it. So health or like productivity or whatever is in this community is a total of ours, right? It includes mine also. So when all are healthy in a society, it is a healthier society. So we should care for other people's health also. We should care for each other's. And you know what? I'm telling this because I'm also part of this community. I'm not telling you because, see, as WHO says, everybody is going to experience disability at some point of time, whether it is short term or long term or what. So you are also going to experience it at some point of time. So let's be together and work on this. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that when we 26, 27 people are sitting in the small room, we are a community, and I'm also a part of that. It is about all of us together. It is not like, okay, I stand in this side and you all stand on the other side. It is us together, and that is why I'm talking about this. I'm not like, okay, so it is waiting for you, so you also better do it. No, I don't want anybody to go through it, but I want all of us to be together in this society to work for a better society or to be of service to each other. So what you can do is sensitize yourself to specific topics. Always, we never learn about disability in our curriculum, right? And never in our school. We don't know how to communicate with people or how to include people. We are not taught. And children are actually very like curious, so they want to know how it works, and then they try to interact with each other. But then when we become adults, we are like, no, no, don't look at, don't ask. So it is not something which you can go and openly ask. So you don't get an opportunity to learn about. So it is our duty as adults now to go and find out what it is and what we can do. We have a responsibility to do that. And then okay, when you provide palliative care, what you can do is, like, when you come, you ask me what do I want, instead of asking my mother what do I want. you can ask me. Have conversations with me and ask me. I may not be able to take all the decisions on my own about my health, but you can tell me, okay, this is what it is and what would you like to do, so that I can take an informed decision. It is called shared decision making, and I'm sure you must have learned about it or heard about it in the previous sessions also. So please do that with me. I'm not an expert in health. I only know what do I go through, but I've not studied it or learned it anywhere. So, but include me and say that okay, so I can still talk, I can still think. So I'm that person who was having all the wishes for myself and deciding and doing it. For some reason, I'm not able to do everything on my own now, but still, I do have all the thinking capacity to do it. So, please ask me when it is about a decision about myself. That is something which you can keep remind yourself of when you do that. So, and the last I already told you that it is not about them and me, it is about us. Can you just it was me talking all the time so that you get some break from that. So how was it?
Please respond.
Share you. Sorry. Next slide. Okay, so just tell me, you can use chat also. So what did you hear? What are the some words which you hear? Some specific words. Okay, just ask. Okay, more. Any other words which you could catch? Okay, people first. Be human. How are you? Maybe respect. See the person. Dignity. Like yeah. So these are like, see, there are so many videos like this on the internet. I just picked one which I thought, okay, maybe a bit engaging and you will like it. So there are different ways of telling people, and there are different things. Like if you ask one of my deaf friends, they'll say that okay, look at me, don't look at me, you can look at my interpreter also. But then this video says that look at me when I like show signs. So there are differences, but then what is common is like, okay, words like, okay, respect for each other, treating equally, and then like to treat them how they want to be treated. Yeah, of course. So those are the kind of things. So what I do next is like, I just wanted to go to, we only have maybe 30 more minutes. So I'll just go through some of this. Can you go to the next slide? Some of these, and you have so many like etiquettes. If you just search for disability etiquettes, you will find so many, maybe something specific to blind, something specific to deaf people, or people with intellectual disabilities, or things like that. You will find so many. I just wanted to share some so that you get a feel of it, and then, as I said, my secret agenda is to get you interested into it and make you go and search for more after this session. So do not assume that everyone needs assistance. Yeah, that is one thing. You know what? I need a lot of assistance, maybe to function on a daily basis. But one thing which I don't need help is to ride this wheelchair, because this is electric and which is battery powered, and I am able to, with my minimum like ability in my hand, I am able to manage it. So I use either my thumb or my palm to push it. But then you can't believe how many people try to push my wheelchair to help me, because they just want, they see me and they think that I need help, or they see that I need help and they want to help, and only thing they can think of is about pushing my wheelchair, whether I want to go from one place to another place or not, or whether this wheelchair is like around 50 kg and then I must be more than 60 kg, and altogether you will never be able to push it until it is a manually movable mode. So when I'm using this with an electric option, you will not be able to push it at all. But then you really you're so desperate to help, and then you want to push me. So that is what happens many times, and you don't believe if I tell you how many times this happened and how many times people actually try to take me from point A to point B when I wanted to be there in point A and waiting for somebody. So these things happen very often. So, but I need help. I would need Arya to move these lights. I need Arya to switch this fan on or AC off or lights on or whatever it is. So there are enough things for you to help me. So please don't worry about pushing my wheelchair. Instead, please ask me. If you find me somewhere out in the society, please ask me. I see that you would need a lot, you need help, but please don't hesitate to ask me. I'm here to help. That gives me a confidence. Even now, after all these years, when I go in the middle of like a group of people who are strangers, I would be like, okay, whom to ask? Maybe I look at and somebody who's smiling, who is friendly, who looks friendly, I'll go and ask that person instead of asking somebody who doesn't care about me. So it is like, okay, in a place like that, in a conference hall like that, I would need help. So when you see me there, you just tell me that. So I'm here if you need any help. That gives me so much of confidence to come and ask you when I need that help. So you don't have to push my wheelchair always to help me. Okay, I can give you 100 other things to do which you can do and which is meaning. So yeah, you can ask for my name. You can you know, okay, when someone who's a stranger meets me, what do you think is the first question being asked? Can you guess? Give me some option. What do you think in the chat?
How old are you?
Okay.
No, maybe
That's
wishing
what.
and asking your name,
Sorry?
greetings, greetings and asking your name.
Not always.
I feel can I speak or
Yeah, sure.
yeah, so I feel what I observe in general, whenever you see a person who has disability, you feel that they immediately need help. Like it's so socially constructed that even if they ask or not ask, you consider that they need help and you directly jump into it, whether despite asking them whether you want or not have, they actually don't have right to live as a normal person. They're just treated as if they have something, whereas they can technically.
We lost you. Sakshi.
Yeah. So I was just saying that you know, even greeting and all these things leave them apart. They'll just rush for help, and that help is actually not needed for the next person. I
Okay.
mean, this is what I have observed. So.
That happens and there is one more in the chat. That happens. And asking about your disability. What happened is the first question I hear, maybe 90-95%. If you ask people, they would also agree with that. What happened? Okay, when was your what accident? When did it happen? You can't walk at all. Simply can't walk. Do you know there is a? Did you try Ayurveda? There is a doctor which I know of, and he actually like helped so many people, cured so many people. Why don't you go there? So these are the kind of questions you usually get to. Yeah. I never like only when maybe while I'm here in this building that, okay, people ask me, okay, what is your name? And they come here and meet me. Outside, that question is very rarely asked. So I always tell people, so when you meet me, you can ask for my name because I have a name. And you're so afraid to ask me, what do you do? Because you assume that I don't do anything. Even if I don't do anything, it is okay to ask me, what do I do? Because at least that takes me away from the usual question of what happened to you. And I'd be happy to tell you I don't do anything. I just stay at home and watch TV than answering, oh, I met with an accident this many years back and this happened and my spinal cord injury. I've repeated that question enough times, so I'm done with that. So you can don't worry about asking me about my name. You're sure that, right? I do have one name. So everybody has. So that is a safe question to ask. You don't have to go to what happened. And how many people pat on my cheek or on my shoulder? I'm not talking about friends. I'm not talking about people whom I know and I have connection with. I'm talking about strangers. When you meet for the first time, you treat me like a child. That, okay, so there is something wrong with this lady. I don't know whether you see me as a lady. It's okay, whoever it is, and then you want to pacify or you want to, I don't know what word to use, but then you see me as a child. So it is okay to, your daily, yeah, that is also, what is your daily routine, Shipali? I'm not sure, but your pastime, yeah, that is you can ask. Okay, so what do you do? What do you like to do? What were you doing before? And those kind of, what does life look like? How is it and all? So, and speak directly to my like me, the wheelchair user. So many times it is always like they ask my mother, or if I go out with friends, they ask them, okay, what happened? And once when I used to when we were in a different building, I used to go for evening walks sometimes with one of my friends. So we were going one day, and then there was an elderly lady standing on the gate, and then he was asking my friend, so what happened to her? Is she mentally retarded too? So that was in Malayalam. So it was like the way we associate, and then he said, okay, you ask her. And then she was like, she was so embarrassed to ask me because of the comment which she already made. But then as usual, I smiled and said, yeah, I stay in that hospital, I work there. And then she was like, okay, fine, fine. So she was happy to get rid of us after that. So we just came working. So, and then this is also, see, I know when we go out, I'll have all my friends' bags hanging on my wheelchair, and then there'll be things which kept on my lap because they don't have to. We'll all be walking, and then they don't have to carry the weight. That is what we do with friends. But this is something which I talk about, like strangers when we meet. You touch, you lean onto the wheelchair. Those things are maybe something which we need to be careful about. And then this point is about my neck pain also. Like if you can find some way to sit next to me and talk, that gives me and relieves me of the pain, and that also tells me that, okay, so we are talking equal to equal instead of you standing there and I sitting here. So that is something which you can remember. Go to the next. Can I have a volunteer to read this? Anyone? You can unmute and read. Someone.
So I sit when I shower.
You can
Have
see
to
it.
just read it.
Yeah, just read it. Just
Sit when I work. I sit when I cry. I sit when I'm angry. I sit when I dance. I sit when I'm sick. I sit a lot. I sit when I eat. I sit when I speak. I sit when I laugh. I sit when I sing. I sit when I'm joyful. I sit when I'm work out, and I sit when I'm healthy.
okay. So I sit a lot. Can you go to the next? Okay, maybe someone else.
Somebody else, please volunteer.
Someone else to read this.
Should I continue?
Hello.
Or I'll get another person to read.
Sitting does not
Am I
make my
audible?
life. Yes.
Continue.
Okay, Phoebe.
Can I continue then?
Yeah.
Okay. Sitting doesn't make my life all the different from the lives of non-disabled people. I'm the same human as when I stood. What's different is how I perceived as a disabled person and wheelchair user. What's different is how I excluded and denied access despite existing civil rights law that is supposed to protect my inclusion. What's different is ableism I experience. And all of that with a system and structure that value and invest in disabled people could be resolved.
So maybe Seema, you were about to read, right?
We are whole, complete people, and we are knocking on the door of society, asking, demanding to be let in. Answer the door, loves, sorry. Answer the door, loves. Answer it with your vote. Answer it by following and sharing disability justice work. Answer it by becoming educated and listening and believing our experiences. You can make the difference, Carson Truta.
So it was written by, I think I have his photo also, the next one. Yeah, so it was written by, I read it somewhere and I liked it. So because I sit a lot too. So he was just saying that, okay, so if we can all make a difference by doing our bit. So I wanted us to remember about that when we like talk about all this now, because you all have an opportunity to contribute. What an exciting that is. So I'm done with my talk. So I know it took a lot of time, but it is time for you to share whatever, maybe some experience with disability, people with disabilities, or anything which you want to talk about. We have some 15 minutes or 10 minutes.
So I have a recent experience of being partially disabled. I met with an accident in February.
Okay.
And I had I had a knee surgery with a plate, and I was told not to move for next months, 2.5 months. So I can actually understand the pain and the agony of a person who is disabled. For me, it's very depressing for those 2.5 months.
To be in one place, to be in bed for all those.
Yeah, yes, being in one place is one challenge. The biggest challenge was the dependency on my son. And for every small thing, I had to be dependent. So, from getting a glass of water to taking me to the washroom, it was the most difficult thing for me to accept it. So, it took me around more than a month to accept that I have to take rest for 3 months.
Thank you for sharing that.
Hi, good evening. So thank you for sharing your lived experience, ma'am. It was very insightful and quite a learning for all of us. This is just an observation that I recently had. This was in one of the districts in Maharashtra. And when you mentioned about systemic and structural issues and inclusion and ableism, when we speak creating spaces for people living with disability, I came across a program on a district level that was being conducted by the CEO of the district, and which was in partnership with one of the CSRs, and this was about rehabilitation support, giving aid, whatever equipments or aid are required to those living with disability. But then the requirements were so exclusionary in a way, like you had to have a unique disability identity card. Then there was a Divyang certificate that was required from a particular uh, from particular center, and then there was an income certificate that was required, then there was a ration card that is required, then there was an Aadhaar card. So there was a list of so many have tos to get into that rehabilitation program itself. So when we talk about creating spaces and inclusion, the process itself is so taxing, and so I was just like, people, and most people have not been able to make a disability identity card itself in rural areas. So this is about a rural space that I'm talking about. So yeah, that was an observation recently that I had. Yeah. Thanks.
It happens many times because you don't know when you make decisions, you don't know like from where these people are coming. Only if you have an idea that okay, so how would me and my mom go and do it? So if you have no idea, because that is the usual situations wherein there will be maybe an elderly parent or then parent and like a mother and a elderly person, and then how would they get some help from people and then make it happen to reach there? You build everything and you keep there, and then people from where they have to come there, they are not able to access it. Either they don't have the information about it. How many people know about rehabilitation centers and being told about to go there, even if it is come and run, you don't know. You just get back home and you're stuck at home. Happens many times. So anybody else? Shanmugapri, can you be a bit louder? I think your voice is
Am I
very
audible
feeble.
now?
Yes,
Better?
better.
Okay. Thank you for sharing the experience from both you and Shilpali. Thank you. And yes, similar to Shilpali, I too had experience in 2021 as well as in 2023 because of any injury and viral arthritis. The most one thing is like even whether it is a partial disability or a condition where it couldn't be treated or after a rest or something. Even the medical fraternity, the way they convey the news, it is just very, sometimes it seems really rude. Like, you take rest. That is the only thing they can tell. What about the situation, whether they are the earning member or can they afford to take rest, and during the rest period, how they should be cared for by the people, that was never addressed. So I'm being a medical person, even the doctor, they just say, okay, now you're not working, right? You can afford to take rest, so take rest. That's also, I am 45-year-old mother of two teenage daughters, so that an aging mother. So how will she be taking rest? So what can we do? There is no communication. I think we don't have a social framework for even conveying this, how to tell this, what to do, how much you can take rest, how much you can do. And just like that, take rest, or we stay in the bed, you just use the washroom. Only to use the washroom, you can get up and go. So the rest of the day, the whole family is like, they don't even come. And so there is no framework to tell them how you can support the person with the disability, whether it is partial. And the same with aging elderly people at home also. We don't have the framework to tell them, like, they are now struggling, they are not having that cognitive action. So how to tell them without offending them to use maybe a walking stick or walking frame when they are going? Our roads are treacherous most of the time, so even to walk or to get on a car, for example, till 6 months ago, my aunt can get on a car very easily. Now to get on an Innova or something, she panics. She panics. So I always say that wherever we travel, carry a small stool so that she doesn't feel had to be helped up or down. So these social terms, this is again an observation, like Mr. Parag said, like we should create a conversation in the social framework, I guess, to talk about how to include people. That is a very important thing, like you mentioned, Ashla. Inclusiveness in everything, not only in healthcare, in everything, in a social framework, how to include them, how to not talk down to them. To elderly parent, we very easily say, right, why should they go there? They have been so independent till they are gone. Suddenly we tell them that don't go there. That is the only advice we can give, I think. Don't go there, don't go out. You have to now stay at home. We never think about how it impacts their life, their independence, or their life, integrity, and dignity.
So true, so true. That is so true.
I mean, ma'am, there's also this new buzzword that comes up that has come up, diversity and inclusion. That everybody talks about diversity and inclusion, and having we value diverse people from diverse backgrounds and things like that. But the problem is, do we create spaces for people that treasure and value this diversity? I live in one of the richest municipal corporations in the country, but the roads are not friendly for pedestrians. Forget, like, how will they support people with disability? I mean, there's so many potholes and things like that. I mean, might end up having an accident on these roads. Okay? So even in office spaces, for that matter, you have so many hindrances in the way the furniture is aligned. You want somewhere to tick the HR wants to tick the box of diversity and inclusion, but the actual work that is to be done, nobody wants to do it. So that is also quite.
So true. And we see when we go somewhere, we call the hotel and ask, okay, are you like, do you have accessibility? Yeah, yeah, there is a ramp. So ramp in the front, like entrance is accessibility for them. Whether I can get into the lift or into the rooms or into the toilet, they don't even know that that also in like part of accessibility. So we can only like come out of it by including more and more, talking more and more about it and creating awareness about it so that people know about it. So maybe that is one of the things which we are trying to do also, because like, see, unless we talk about these things, we will not realize that okay, there were things which we could do from our end actively. So when I talk to doctors, I tell all these like different difficult experiences which I had, which were so much of depressing and hurtful and all. But still, I tell them that okay, so you do, like, some doctors did it to me, but then it was not their fault. I know when I think of it, because they're not taught about it. So you're not taught about it when in your 4.5 or 5 years of studies, and the moment you get your court and you are expected to behave in a different way, that is not humanly possible. So you do what you are taught, and what we should do is to like teach people about okay how you can do. So when I go in front of a doctor and talk about these things, like at least some people, if I talk to 15 people, at least some people will be inclined to listening to okay, so this is what my words cause, or this is how it can be changed, or this is what people feel when I see, like, say so or do so. So there are people who change genuinely, who want to like change, so they know how to do it. So that is how it is about disability also. You are not like taught about how to interact with people with disabilities, and then if I expect everybody to do that, I'm not going to get it. But then that is why I said my secret agenda for this session is to get you interested into it, so that you learn something about it. And next time when you see somebody on the street, you behave differently to that person. And then when you see one of your friends interacting in a wrong way to a person like that, you tell them that, okay, so no, maybe you can try doing this. This is not what they want. And one of my friends did tell me that, okay, so she was waiting for somebody, and then someone assumed that, okay, she was waiting to cross the road. She's blind. And then like somebody held her and dragged her to the next, like across the road. So she's standing there, and she doesn't know what else to do, because that person who wanted to help her helped her and left. So it's like that person did not even wait to hear that, okay, so no, I don't want to go to the other side. I want to be here. I'm waiting for somebody. So these are the kind of situations. And then when you see those kind of things happening, if it is somebody whom you know, you can tell that person also. That is the only way we can change these kind of things. We educate ourselves, sensitize ourselves, and we try to do it for people whom we know. I'm just hoping that you all will do that after being here with me for 1.5 hours. Thank you so much. So if there are no other questions, maybe we can stop. We're already on time.
I think there is no more questions. Okay, let me tell you one thing. Since I joined Pallium, I was coordinating the sessions only. I was a coordinator only. On this session, I was an active listener. I was listening throughout the session. I was sincerely listening. So thank you so much, Ashla ma'am, for you opened the book of your life story as well as the knowledge regarding the topic. Thank you so much, ma'am. I will not forget this session in my life. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Participants also, you are very active. Thank you. See you in the next session.